Hello, Surge Nation. Surge here, along with my sidekick, Doc Griffin here, the club fitter. And Doc, we're in Brisbane right now, huh?
Brisbane, Australia.
Which is the third leg of our trip. Since you set it up, why don't you tell them where we were and where we've been, and where we are now, and give an update on all of that.
First leg of our trip was into Sydney 4 days, and then we left and flew down to Melbourne for another 4 days, and now we're live in color from Brisbane, my favorite spot, because it's like being in southern Florida. Nice and warm, tropical, and we'll be here for 3 days doing teaching and fitting.
Yep, we'll be here for 3 days, and then we'll be finally heading home. Well, I guess everybody's kind of excited, and normally when I've ever done dailies at golf schools and everything else, no matter who it's with, the first thing we always cover is we give the alignment results. And we've been here now, and I've had, what, 4 schools?
16, 32.
32 students so far, and we're batting 0, the big goose egg, and I started a new thing in golf schools now, because I talk about golf schools so alignment so much. The big A, alignment, alignment, alignment. Don't play golf without it, and so I've started asking everybody to rate what they feel their alignment expertise is on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being bad and 10 being good. And basically, we're getting probably on average 6 to 7. Everybody say it's 6 to 7. I've had a few 4s. I had one gentleman actually put -2. So I got to say, I think he's the guy that's only been right. But it's amazing how many of the folks, I guess even because I say it enough, they practice it. But I think the big issue has been that the visual misconception is really difficult to get over because your eyes fool you. And no matter how much you know about it and how hard you try, the eyes are going to trick you. And the answer, in my presentation I do, the biggest one I do is alignment in every school. And I'm sure you've heard me because we've been teaching almost side by side. And I'm sure most of the guys you are the folks you've been doing club fittings with, if you gave them a target, they're not sniffing it either, right?
Correct.
Correct. So you're batting 0 too?
They are.
They are. Yeah, you're batting 0 in the students you've been working with, the surgites you've been working with. So he's batting 0 too. And I've got everybody, and I've told them that to really understand it, it's quite technical, and it's quite, well, when you get it, it's going to revolutionize how you can line up. And so it'll make, if you make a mistake, it won't be as bad. And the answer is truly, truly, truly getting the ultimate alignment video. It's something I figured out a long, long time ago, maybe as much as 30 years ago, and I forgot about it for a long time, and it came back, and I did some studying with it. And at first, even the first time I told it to DJ, he thought I was crazy. And then I tricked him into doing some things, and basically, in the end, he said, I guess you were right. And basically what it is, it's a way to make sure you line up far enough left. And like I told DJ, walk in like you want to hit a cut shot every shot, at least hit a power cut that's going to fade 5 to 10 yards at least, and you're going to have a better chance of being left. And but the answer is in the ultimate alignment video. If you feel like you make good swings and the ball doesn't go where it goes, supposed to go, and then next throw you're pulling the ball the other way or hitting exact opposites, do yourself the favor. Get the alignment video, ultimate alignment video on the site, because the answer is there, and you got it to continually look at it and refresh your memory. But, okay, after getting on that, we've had a lot of surgites over here show up with fairly good golf swings, pretty good vertical swings. Overall, things were pretty good, except what messed everything up was the alignment. But, Doc, tell me, what have you been seeing? Because you've had a number of folks who didn't come to the school, but I think maybe, 5 or 6 of them had an alignment with you before the school or alignment after the school. And what are you seeing in terms of their setup swings and their golf clubs?
They're at least more aware of it. They're still trying to do it. They haven't got it down yet. But
to do it, the swing, the setup and swing.
The setup and the alignment.
Mm-hmm.
They're more aware of it at least, and can catch their mistakes better. especially after they hit a shot and it didn't go where they wanted it to.
Well, let's maybe we'll put this on. I cannot promise any time frame for doing this because we have so many things going on. But you and I talked about the fact that, and you brought it up, that on all the fittings you've been doing for over a year now out on the road, you've been seeing some common misconceptions, misunderstandings of surgites who have been studying the swing, and you and I decided that at the first available time we can, and we're going to probably send out a questionnaire or to the rest of the certified instructors for them to list the 10 major misconceptions or misunderstood things about the surge swing they've been finding, and we're going to put a master list together. But I think you and I have already got, without a doubt, the first 3 or 4 honed in.
For sure.
And I think we'll make that video and get it, and it'll get up on the site. But I'd like to do that yesterday, but that's not going to happen. And then when you get back, we're coming near the end of the year and the holidays, so I can't even actually promise when it's coming out. But when it comes out, you'll hear about it in emails and dailies from me and our doc, and especially emails on the site. But I think that's going to be a big help.
It'll revolutionize it.
Yeah, because so many of you are making the same ones, and it's a slight misunderstandings. But in the meantime, keep sending in your questions to customer service about things that you have, because those are also going to add to the list of what potentially are the big misnomers. Anything else you want to say about club fitting? What do you find is happening? I heard you talking a lot in between my teaching that hybrids are very important to most of our surgites, especially the ones that are, say, over 60.
It's been amazing the number of, we won't say age-wise, we'll just say slow club head
speed.
Yeah, slow club head speed.
And what do you consider to be about the point of slow?
Well, in the consideration of where we're going to start putting hybrids, like pulling out a 5-iron, let's say, somewhere below 80 miles an hour with a 38-inch club, which is normally a 5.
Am I still above that?
Yes. Yeah, you're still above it.
But I'm leaking off fast.
But you're getting close fast. We may want to redo your fit. But I'm surprised. The other day I see a gentleman come in who has a 72-mile-an-hour club head speed, and he's carrying a 3-iron, 4-iron, 5-iron. And it's ridiculous that, you can't hit those clubs at that speed. You need to understand that it's not that you can't hit them or hit them straight. You don't get optimum performance with the correct trajectory, which will maximize your distance. And so I'm seeing just about, well, I would say everybody so far. Even the marginal guys who are at 80, they're not getting any younger. So what I do is I give them their 5-iron, and then I give them the hybrid replacement. Say, hit these 2 clubs, tell me which gives you better performance. And so far, everybody's taking the hybrid. Not one person that says, I like the iron. But from a fitting standpoint, again, we're seeing the same thing that we see in the States. Clubs that are too long. Overall, they're playing shafts that don't fit them. I don't like to talk about stiff or soft. The profiles of the entire shaft don't fit them. And all but 2 people had clubs that were too flat. And then I've had 2 guys that were actually too upright. I've had nobodies that were right. And when we were doing our initial emailings and blasts that we were coming over here, I got rather bold and said that I'll give 100% money back guarantee. If you come to me and we did a fitting and your clubs fit you, I give you back your money. So far, I've still got all the money.
Can I come for a fitting?
No, I did yours. That doesn't count.
That does. Come on, man. You said if you come with the clubs and they fit you, you're going to give the guy $100. All right. Let's get back to that gentleman that had the 3, 4, was it 3, 4, and 5?
3, 4, and 5.
What did he feel? Did he feel he was hitting them good, or was he not satisfied with the hits?
Basically, he was actually ambivalent. It didn't cross his mind that he wasn't getting out of them. In fact, he said his 4-iron was one of his favorite clubs. So I had him hit his 4-iron, and we stood there. And I said, you tell me when you hit one that you like, that is what you consider to be good. finally I had to say I got another fittings coming. Quit. And again, then I put the hybrid in his hand, and he saw immediate results as to how it should launch. And the next biggest boogaboo, if you would allow me to use that word, in players' bag is their drivers. I can't tell you how many 46-inch drivers I've run across since we've been down here. Just too long. And they're playing lofts too low. And we're seeing, you know, when I get to put together the demo drivers and the test drivers with the right shaft and the right loft and the right dynamics of the pup head, immediate results. And you heard it the other day. Ian, wow.
Yeah.
Just a wow.
And Ian was under 50.
Well, Ian's a pretty good player.
Yeah, he's a pretty good player, 50, in excellent condition.
And guess what? We not only replaced his 5-iron, we replaced his 6-iron.
Really?
Because the hybrid 6-iron replacement just gave him better trajectory.
Well, I think the big thing we need to talk about with the drivers is A, the advertising is just designed and just focused on convincing the golfers out there that a longer club with a bigger head will hit the ball farther. And that's absolutely 100% true if the golfer can swing it as fast as a shorter club and hit it as solid.
Yep.
Now, the other thing that's important about the sweet spot is many of these companies say that their sweet spot, they have a bigger sweet spot. In fact, a few years back, a company actually came out and said, we have 9 sweet spots. So they took a face of a golf club and they put 3 dots in 3 different rows about maybe half an inch apart. And they said, we have 9 sweet spots. And then a few years, about a year later, they came back and said, the whole face is a sweet spot.
Right.
Well, how big is a sweet spot? Which side of this pen would you use?
Well, actually, the size of the sweet spot is smaller. The sweet spot is smaller than that.
That's the point. That's the ball point.
That's the
Would you right?
point. It's actually the size of the business end of a needle. The sharp end of a needle.
Like you're going to get a shot, or you
pinning
so
your
close.
pants up or sewing something.
Okay, so
it's
now
that small.
All right, now it's that small. Sweet spot says sweet spot, S-P-O-T, no S's. So we know that the 9 deal was wrong.
Right.
It can't get any bigger. They can move it around in the face. So conversely, what happens is the bigger your head, the more of the golf club head, the more space they got to miss the sweet spot, and therefore hit even worse shots. Correct?
The theory is that the larger the head, what they tell you is the miss hit goes further and straighter. And they're telling you the truth. Now, this is a great opportunity because I've never put it out there in a wide broadcast area. Let's compare a 460 head to a 360 head and a half-inch miss hit.
Well, explain what a 460 is and a 360, because
the
some
size
just
of
in
the
case.
head, the 460 cc, which is the common head size that you'll find on these drivers when you walk into a retail store, and a 360 is what we make and advocate, smaller head. But the large company tells you the bigger head on a miss hit will travel further and straighter. They are telling you the truth, but they are also telling you a lie because they are painting a different picture, like it's tens of yards and in much, much tighter dispersion, when in actuality a half-inch miss hit on a 460 head compared to a 360 head in distance is more like 2.5 yards and dispersionally 18 to 22 inches. So from standing at the tee spot to where the ball comes down, a half-inch miss hit with either head, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference.
Okay.
The biggest difference is you can get the club head squared easier with a smaller head.
Okay.
Hey,
Now,
Doc.
yes.
Doc,
Okay, so here.
We got a question just came in through the chat. We've got a Mr. Matheson that's asking, since I've had clubs with the correct upright lie, I've tended to hit more shanks with the PW and the 9-iron. Do you think I might be standing too close? There's nothing that saps confidence as much as this.
Oh, man. Having the correct lie angle certainly doesn't cause the S word, which we don't say. That's like saying a
Hosel rockets.
Yeah, hitting a hosel rocket really isn't a result of having the upright lie. from a swing standpoint, there are several different things that will produce it. Number one, being off balance. Number two, coming way too much from the inside and delivering the hosel of the club to the ball first. And Don can throw in even more because he and I have had this conversation. So I'm going to let him throw out a few more because that's his area of expertise. It's swing, it's not club.
Most of the time I find that it's somebody that all of a sudden decided they wanted to have more leg drive, and as they drive their legs more, especially driving the back leg, so if you're a right-hander, it'd be the right leg, and you drive it downward a little bit, it pulls you downward, and therefore pushes you in towards the ball and puts the hosel on the club. Another one actually that can happen is you're aiming too far to the right if you're a right-hander, and you're coming over the top, and you're falling into the ball a little bit, and that can put the hosel on it. It can almost be unlimited. So it's got to look at it and see it. But historically, almost everybody that's shown up with hosel rockets, when I've had them, it was just basically too much leg drive, and that's basically it. So also another thing we can call under releasing. When you come back through the ball and say the club should be going into the forward mid toe up, but instead you come in with the right palm going under, that's opening the face, and anytime the right palm goes under, it's stretching the right arm out, and that can take the club from the ball from the center of the club and put it on the hosel.
Right.
And that's a big one. And I've been seeing a lot of that, especially in the short clubs and especially around the green, where sometimes you're not hitting a hawk, what you're just hitting is a pure blade. The bottom of the blade of the face is hitting the ball and just with the face open, it's just shooting over to the right. So that would be big ones. Just watch that. Because even on chip shots, pitch shots, and the short clubs, you have to go into the forward mid toe up. Getting back now to talking about the golf clubs. I remember you told me one night when we come back to the hotel after we have dinner, and we're sitting there, we're watching golf, or we're working on the computers and stuff, and you mentioned one gentleman came in, and he was upset about losing yardage with his driver. And so you put some tests on him and everything else. Would you please talk about that? Because one of the things that I see all the time is people say, gee, I'm in everything good, but not the driver. What am I doing wrong? When I hear that stuff, that most things are good and the driver isn't, I'm saying it's the arrow, not the Indian.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And so get it checked out. Or somebody says I can hit all my irons good except my 7 irons bad. Get it checked. If you can hit a lot of them good, then it means something's wrong with that club. But in this case, one of the big things I think we always forget is a lot of times when people are talking about they've lost distance, they're really only talking about the one super drive they hit every round.
That's it.
And they base everything on that. Well, you know what? Every now and then I still hit a driver about 280 and 290 yards, but my average one is about 250. So I think what you got to do is it's all about averages, and just think about it. Even if you hit a 290-yard drive and it had 20 degrees of push off to the right or pull, at some point it's going away from the hole, not towards it. So even if you hit more consistently good drives straighter to where you wanted it to go, and it was 5 or 6 or 8 yards shorter, what is your average at the end of the day? That's what you need to figure out. It's no different than if you want your driving average, it's going to be big. You should base it on your average, all your drives. So if you hit a snap hook out there that only goes 150 yards or a block slice or even a top, and you average up all the good ones down the middle, there's going to be a big difference.
Got to count them.
And that's what you should be counting. And so tell us what happened with that gentleman, because you still got to look at averages. Your best one every day, everybody can get that lucky drive where everything came through, and maybe you caught the Gulf Stream pushing down there for you, and everything else.
I think you're talking about the guy that came to me for the fitting that couldn't keep his driver in the fairway. So we did his fitting and worked it out, built his driver, and 3 months later he shows back up and he's not happy.
Yes, that's the guy. That's a gentleman.
So I take him back over to our fitting studio and put the launch monitor out and let him hit shots. And I'm watching him hit shots. And I'm watching him hit shots. And he's hitting everything so pure, it's just unbelievable. So finally I stopped him and I asked him, I said, exactly what is it that you're not happy about? He said, I'm shorter with this driver than I was with mine. And I asked him, I said, by how much? He says, 5 to 7 yards. So I kind of just mulled it over for a moment and said, so if I'm understanding correctly, you came to me 3 months ago, you couldn't keep a drive in the fairway. Now I'm seeing you hit shots and you could go out and throw a hula hoop around them. I said, is that fairly indicative of what you do when you play? He said, yeah, I'm in the fairway all the time. I said, okay, you couldn't keep a ball in the fairway, and now you're hitting drives in the fairway, but you're 5 to 7 yards shorter. Is that what you're saying? And he got real quiet, bent down, and picked up his head cover, put it on his driver, and said, thank you for your time, and he left. But he realized how asinine it was. And 5 to 7 yards.
And really, if he's hitting them in the rough, there's no way a ball hitting in the rough where the rough is going to kill it can truly be longer than all of those balls in the fairway. Again, that might have been the case if there's one good one every round in the fairway, might have been a fraction longer.
Even if it was, who cares?
Yeah, the key is the fairway. Fairways and greens.
Fairway. It's easier
fairways
to
and
play
greens.
All
right, let's talk about another club fitting thing. For a while, I was telling you that I was having problems with my 3-wood, and that maybe I needed a softer shaft. And you kept saying, nope, I think you need more loft. Expound on that.
The dynamics that go into being able to get the ball airborne on the proper launch angle. And people need to understand, too, when we talk launch angle, we're talking about from where the ball sits, the actual angle that it starts off in the air, not what it looks like out in the distance. From where it starts to where it's at its pinnacle, or the apex, 3 to 4 degrees, which is huge difference in launch angle. Once it gets out in the air, the human eye cannot really depict it. So that's why people think they hit the ball plenty high. We're not talking about it. We're talking about how it launches. But as you slow down with your club head speed, which is one of the primary ingredients that determines loft or launch. I mean, there's loft of the club, angle of attack, composition of the golf ball, and the club head speed with which you hit it, and then pureness of hit. The major two that we can work with would be the loft of the club, and then what can we do shaft-wise to also maximize and use what club head speed you have. So as you slow down in club head speed, there's no longer that impact of the ball and the club head meeting, creating the spin that causes the ball to whirl up the club face and launch. So as we slow down in our club head speed, we need to add more loft onto our club head. So again, if we're looking at driver club head speeds that are definitely sub 80, and I think sub 85, a 3-wood is just not the best club off the deck because it doesn't have an adequate loft to get the ball on the right launch angle with the club head speed that it's being hit with. And then the other thing that I really have a problem with is today's club manufacturers are making clubs that are, from front to back are about the size of what drivers used to be. So it makes it difficult to come in and hit up on the ball, and it makes you swing flatter down here at the bottom because if you tried to hit up, the back end is creating drag. It's like an airplane going down the runway instead of just gradually taking off, going down the runway, and then suddenly jumping up in the air. It doesn't work. You get that drag. We had a student yesterday, Roger, was talking about, says, when is a club too long? Well, for his wrist to floor, the club's too long if he's trying to swing vertically. Because at 32 inches wrist to floor, he had to swing that club horizontally almost. So I said, there's two ways of looking at it. It's too long if it doesn't allow you to swing the way you want to, and it's too long if you can't control the impact of the club face and hit the ball in the center of the club face every time.
What a sweet spot.
Exactly, the sweet spot. And I said, but yes, that club's too long for you. But I've been, just walking up and down here while I was getting balls for the students and stuff. I said, but another thing I can tell you about your club, and he was hitting it pretty good. I said, is the design of that club isn't good. I said, the next 5 shots, I want you to just pay attention. And when you hit one that does get kind of up in the air, I want you to notice there's going to be a thud at the bottom of your swing. And when you don't hear a thud at the bottom of your swing, I want you to see how flat and a line drive you hit. And he stood there and hit balls, and I've watched, and the ones that he got at least kind of airborne, there was a thud. The back end of the club hit.
So that's like the bounce on a wedge.
Pretty much.
Right.
Exactly. And then the ones that he didn't thud, because he's trying not to thud,
He thins them.
he hits them fat.
Thin
And
bullets.
it's just, rockets that get, kill worms as they go down the fairway.
Well, talking about, as I started this little conversation on, was about me feeling that I was still hitting the 3-wood pretty good, but I had tendency to hit too low. And I was questioning the shaft. You said I needed more loft. More loft. But what it ended up being was, probably for about 2 years now, I personally have had poor posture. And what's triggering this question, and probably be the last thing we talk about, we have about 5 minutes left here, and for this 30-minute session, is that I got into kind of a slouchy posture. And that's just about all I've seen for these golf schools we've done so far. And I think the misconception is that when I start every lesson, I always ask everybody some particulars, like how long you've been playing golf. And I would say 85 to 90% of everybody that has been at these schools so far has been playing at least 25 years, off and on, or steady. And so they were brought up back when even with the vertical swing, you were told that oh yeah, okay, here we go. I got another comment to throw in here now. Almost every one of them who were trying to keep the quiet left knee had spastic left knees.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so that's one. So they're kicking the knee in too much, which is swaying their hips, pulling them down, moving them off the ball, all kinds of things, and just gets all kinds of rocket and roll movement going. But I think the other big thing I saw is that besides the alignment, the other thing was when I do all the dailies and I talk about posture, I talk about the way being in the arches, athletically ready position, like a tennis player waiting for serve. And for those Americans who know baseball, the ready position out in the field. And all I've seen is I've only seen one person. That was yesterday. We had, in fact, 2 of them show up with pretty good posture, with the weight in the arches. But all I've seen is on the heels. And it's the look of, if you recall, if you've played golf more than 20 years, and you probably still hear it today, be comfortable, be relaxed at address, and make it feel like you're kind of sitting down on a bar stool. You don't sit on a bar stool. You should push your hips out or push your tushy out and push the bar stool away. So that gives you a better spine angle tilt and your arms hang down better. And that's actually what I even got into. I got a little slouchy and my hips weren't out far enough, and consequently that has your knees too close, and guess what else that could cause? The question that was asked that came in on
The rockets.
that was told to us, the hosel rockets. And I got to admit, and I'm not going to lie, the surgeon has hit some hosel rockets in the last year and a half, but I haven't hit one now in about 3 or 4 months since I kind of figured out my posture just got out of whack a little bit. And I'm going to cut myself some slack, because the thing with the surge is I don't ever think about my swing anymore. I'm thinking about all the swings of the students I teach, and most importantly, DJs. And basically, when I go to the club and play, I don't ever go to range. I don't have time. I just go sneak in my 3-4 holes, maybe 5. And I actually, twice before I came in last week, I played 9 holes before I came out getting ready to come here, in case because I want to hit a few shots for everybody, and I want it to be pretty good. But that slouchy setup with the weight over your heels, and the best way to check it out is when you get in your posture, and you think you're in your posture, take your golf club, put it on beside your hips, like where the seam in the slack would be, and just put it down there, and then look down and see. It should be actually up against your ankles. Most everybody I've seen for the last 2 weeks has been that the club is coming down at the heels or even behind the heels. You need to have at the weight, that club should come down at your ankles. That's a good checkpoint. And do that, and I think that's going to start making a big difference, Because if your weight is your feet are under you too much, guess what else you can't do? You can't swing as vertical as you want. Because if your feet are under you and you start lifting your hands up, you're going to fall backwards. Right. So therefore, it helps you to get, again, a little too flat and not as vertical as you like to be. So that's a setup point, and I think we're about getting ready to come to the end of this. And so, just like to say, we're having a great time here in Australia. The weather's been really good. It's only rained on us once, but thankfully the range we were at had a great cover over us, and it kept us nice and dry. And the weather's been great, and it's going to be nice and toasty up here in Brisbane. And so Doc and I have been just having a great time. All the Surgites that we have seen here in Australia have been absolutely the greatest folks, and just great time to be around them and talk with them. And they go out to lunch with me at lunch, and it's just been great having them here and meeting and making all new friends. And so, Doc.
Hey, we appreciate it.
And from the Surge, thanks for all the Surgites coming over here and visiting us and taking these lessons and these fittings. And like we always say, to help you become better golfers, shoot those lower scores. And that's what makes golf pleasurable, enjoyable, and that you want to keep playing golf. So from Doc, for the Surge, and from Doc, keep it vertical.